Hi then, welcome back to NA Turbo. Time for a bit of a fleet update. So Hannibal is now on the road. I'm using him sort of just a couple of days just to make sure the air conditioning is working correctly and everything. And touch wood, it's still very much ice cold. So we'll go and have a look around a couple of other members of the fleet. Okay, and so we arrive at Tom the Tomcat, which Ryan's working on at the minute. So he's just touching up some of the dreadful paintwork that was done by the previous owners on the roof section that's black. Car's been extremely reliable. Ryan's been using it to sort of go to work, which is about 60-mile round trip. It's had a few issues with just sort of misfires and things like that, which we're trying to track down, and we think we've actually nailed to the cam belt being a tooth out by some sort of person that fitted it last time, not actually fitting it correctly. But it's had a couple of new parts on it that we've, or should I say Ryan's got from salvaged cars. So it's had most of the intake and sort of fuel injection system off the 50,000 mile version, so that's all effectively as new now. It's had a new refurbished Dizzy on it as well. So yeah, we've just got to try and track down the ultimate misfire, which we think is down to the cam belt, but he's still running at the moment and still providing good service. So that's the update on Tom the Tomcat. If we pan over to Rado the Corrado over here, he's, yeah, pretty much as is really. I haven't actually done anything on it for a long time. There's still the faults that I need to sort, which hopefully I'll get round to doing back end of this year and maybe next year, depending on Martin the mechanic. So it's got the gearbox off a 60,000 miler to go in because it's very sloppy, and the diff whines a bit like crazy at the minute. There's also the head gasket issue where it's still just weeping ever so slightly out of the corner of the head and the block, but to be honest, it doesn't lose much oil. And it's driven like that for probably about the last 2 years, but it is something I want to get done and seen to. So he's going to actually go on his second road trip of the year. First one, we went to Motorfest, that's quite local to us here in Shuttleworth. So he was on display there for a little while, and we'll be heading down to Festival of the Unexceptional, which is at the end of this month in July. Which is down in Lincolnshire. So I'll be taking Rado the Corrado. Ryan will hopefully be taking Tom the Tomcat, and we may have one of Ryan's friends in a classic Granada coming down with us as well. So yeah, we'll be at Festival of the Unexceptional at the end of this month, hopefully. So we'll pan down to the back and have a look at the Hillman, which has had some very exciting news. So join me back there. So you join us back here with the Hillman, so I'll just take you for a quick walk around him because we haven't seen much of him for a little while. So Ryan's been doing odd bits on the Hillman. He's now got a Dynamator unit on it instead of the original dynamo, so much better in that a Dynamator is just like a normal alternator, so you don't get any dipping of lights when you suddenly come to traffic jams and you dip the clutch or revs go. So it's a lot more modern, but looks like the original unit, so is actually a good compromise. But major news on this is we finally got the DVLA to agree to register it as a UK car. So we sent off the paperwork again for the third time because they decided that they had mixed up in the chassis number NO as a 0, or vice versa, and that didn't match, which was on the Nova certificate for importation from Switzerland. So rather than sort of thinking about it and liaising with the tax department themselves, they kicked it back. So we actually sorted it out. I spoke to a very nice guy at HMRC who was just brilliant and managed to get it sorted out literally within a day for us, and an email sent to say that, you know, it's been changed and the DVLA should now accept that. But they are completely different to the DVLA. I know people, normally you don't associate HMRC with being great, but the guy in the vehicle section was just brilliant, and he actually kind of cursed the DVLA as well, saying, you know, this is a thing they have often, they don't think outside the box, and they'll kick it back for no apparent reason. So it's nice to know I'm not the only one that was cursing them at the time. But anyway, that all got sent back off, and it had been 2 months, obviously, with COVID and things. Everything was taking much longer, so I phoned up for an update and got the good news that the V5 was in the post, and it arrived a couple of days later. So it's now got a British registration number. It's tax and MOT exempt, so they've actually done that for us on the system as well. So essentially, if you were an unscrupulous person, you could just drive it as it is on the road, subject to being stopped by a police car if you ever saw one for that purpose. But we're not like that. We want things to be safe. We want people in it to be safe. We want others around it to be safe. So Ryan's done all the recommissioning work on it anyway in terms of brakes and things like that. But it's going to have a brand new set of tyres on because the ones on it are ancient. He's got some Alicat period alloy wheels to go on it. The lights need to be swapped round to UK units as well. And he's ordered a few more other things. So it's got a oil leak. Apologies for the pigeons there. It's got an oil leak from one of the rear axle seals, so he's ordered a new one of those. The water pump was weeping slightly, so he's ordered one of those to fit. And the fuel pump as well. So this car will be leak-free, and hopefully in the next few weekends, once the parts arrive, we'll be able to start getting it on the road and get the registration number all printed up on the proper classic plates. So yeah, it was a good result with that after lots and lots of frustration. So that's really the Hillman story. I did promise some other sort of Rover news. So under this very nice cover here is Ryan's little baby. I can reveal it is a Rover SD1 V8. He's had a full nut and bolt restoration on it, but it isn't quite finished yet. We're just having some problems with getting it running, and it's had to have some work on the carbs, even though the engine's been rebuilt. So that'll get done very shortly. But thanks for joining us on this fleet update, and catch us again soon.